artists are now like dealing with venues, trying to get shows again as the world starts to open up more. I feel artists, at least that I see, have started to get away from websites. There's a lot of just one page where they then just link their social medias, and that's kind of been, from what I've seen, the way of things. But when I first chatted with you, you opened my mind up to realize that if you have a website, does it sell music? And if you don't, why should you?
So I think also, does it sell you? You know, is your website or whatever platform you're using, is it selling you? And so the first question that I always like to ask is, well, what is it? What are your biggest ticket items? You know, are you going to play a gig for $500? Okay, if you're mostly focusing on selling CDs, how many CDs does it take at 15 or 20 bucks a pop to make the $500 single item gig? So if you recognize that your biggest ticket item is some form of performance, whether it's a online streaming performance to a venue, for a venue, whether it's a live performance at some point, hopefully we'll get back to that. When you understand what is your biggest ticket items that you're selling, then you gear your marketing, whether it's websites, whether it's social media, towards the people, meaning the venue promoters, to who can then see your material and book you or create a program with you or collaborate with you. If you're, and certain of your social media are much more fan oriented. So use those fan oriented platforms to communicate and nurture your fans, but use the appropriate platform like a website. Even if it's just a landing page, you know, use the landing page, use the website so that it houses all of your specific information that will sell you. Okay. You know, that will discuss your programs, that will give the venue booker all the necessary information, the resources like stage plots. And if it's a streaming type of show, then let it tell them how you're going to do that. What platforms do you suggest that you do the streaming? Is it pre-recorded show? Give them a sample of what that might be. You have your stage plots and all those resources that any venue needs to have on hand. Have that be available. And so that's not a fan-based website. That's a very strategic booking, selling website.
Almost like a more diverse EPK, electronic press kit, except now you're just making your website tell that story, right? And you can get a little more in depth than an EPK, because sometimes an EPK has to be just a PDF file, but this, like you said, you can have clips, videos, and your
and one of the pieces that I noticed that a lot of artists do not have on their websites are a nav bar tab that is called, you can call it whatever you want, but I mean, ultimately it's called programs, you know, that it talks about what you offer, you know, and maybe you do workshops, maybe you do master classes. Those could be for university level, you know, courses. Maybe you just do concerts of some sort. But now with the whole COVID scenario, how have you figured out to present what you do in either a live streaming platform format or a pre-recorded format that you can make that be one of your presentation programs or presentations or offerings, you know, whatever you want to call it. But if you have multiple streams of income, like let's say you have licensing of your music, well, that could be another tab. But, you know, if you keep it a secret and nobody knows that you're doing that, then you're again asking the viewer or the visitor to any of your websites to figure you out again.
Right,
so
right.
tell them what you've got to offer them.
Especially in
And
this day and age where it's like everyone wants info right now. They
instantaneous.
don't want
Right.
to sit there and dig.
No.
Don't make
No.
them work.
No.
You know, you're going to just lose that many more potential fans or
Right.
bookers or just business relationships in general, right?
And when you have that tab right there, that's mostly what people, especially bookers, are looking for. Okay, well, tell me about you and go right here. I don't, maybe I want to listen to your music. Maybe I want to watch your videos. But if you have it all put together, here's this type of show that I'm going to do. And here's the video for this show. And here's some recordings from this show. And here's all my resources, my assets, my photograph, all that good stuff that any venue is going to need eventually. There it all is. And then I always like to attach a booking inquiry form. So if you have a tab right at the end and you go, booking information or book me now, something along those lines, and you bring them to a form, then they can just fill it out, tell you all about what they're looking for. And then you get that, and then it's up to you to call them, which makes it very efficient, So
that's amazing.
Specifically, one of the things that, like, Jeri's advice that she's just been giving right now opened up for me, and this is still like sort of in the old world of live shows, is all sorts of lanes of paid shows, all sorts of lanes of money that if you're just sort of hacking your way through a forest and just every next step you take is a new world to you, it's meaning you don't have the knowledge of what's really out there. It's types of shows that you might not be aware of sort of offering a payday. So there's school shows, you get deeper, that there's military shows, there's NACA, and then there's the Canadian version COCA. There's all these sorts of giant realms of shows that open up to you once you figure out the way to present yourself. But specifically, if we as artists have been doing live shows, we've figured out a lot of the technology before anyone else in terms of doing a virtual show.
Exactly.
Now what you can present is, well, I've been through this. I know the technology. I know how this works. I can optimize it. And now you're playing the role that maybe a software startup would, or for a live show that the venue would have in-house. They have their, their sound guy who knows what to do. So there's a lot of value, like tangible money to be earned by precisely describing what you do. Now we're entering a world where, if live
anything
shows
goes.
Exactly. So what would you say then to me or someone like me who is an artist who's still, has momentum, still moving fast, but wants to capture all the opportunities, and doesn't want to sort of, sell myself as anything other than as an artist? What would you say?
I would say that the key here is how to gang together those things, say some kind of a master class about whatever you know most about. And so taking that and creating some kind of a master class that you do either at a college level or at an elementary school level, making it fun, or high school level, which is probably a really good place for that. But if you were, say, on a college campus, you're doing that for a department, the music department, the English department, the even the history department, or even the political science department, and then combining that with a concert for the student activities department. So you get to do both.
Nice.
You get to have your cake and eat it too, but you have an entree onto that campus through some of these other departments that are looking for this material that you may not have as an entree if you went solely as a concert offering to the student activities, because they may want to have, a name act. They may want, somebody that will draw big. But if you can do this and doing it through, say, if you're doing colleges, doing it through a National Association of College Activities organization or CAPACOA in Canada.
Yep.
Now, a lot of these organizations are immediately shifting and pivoting to streaming situations. And because they're live streaming their conferences, they have, even though they might be a regional organization, like let's say you went to the Orlando conference for APCA that happens every year, because they had to shift immediately when their conference in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania was happening. They had to make that shift because COVID got shut down right in the middle of their conference. And in a 2-hour time frame, they shifted to online streaming, and
Oh,
they do a
wow.
thing called cooperative booking, which is like block booking on a massive scale. So
Right.
because they were streaming now, they had colleges from all over the country that would never have gone to that regional, the Northeast regional, but because they were streaming, so the Arizona conference colleges, the California colleges were adding on to these cooperative booking tours for both live and streaming programs of the artists that happened to be there showcasing.
Right.